We're on a break during our processing of guppies for the mark recapture study, so I decided to take a couple minutes to tell you about the place where we do our work. The building that you're looking at right now is our research station. It's the William Beebe Tropical Research Station, and it's owned and run by the Azurite Nature Center in the Arima Valley of Trinidad. This building was actually constructed in 1910 for the British governor of the island. It was used apparently as a weekend home. And it was purchased by William Beebe in the late 1940s, and he lived out the remainder of his life here. He lived here until 1968 and set it up as a research station as part of the New York Zoological Society tropical research facilities. It went into sort of disuse for a period of time and was later acquired in the early 1970s by the Azurite Nature Center and has been run by them ever since. It's sort of a low-cost hostel for research scientists, and it's become the base for our program. To look around the grounds a little bit, there are other buildings that were added after Beebe acquired it. These were servants' quarters, and then up here, you can't really see it, there's a director's house, which is now being taken over by the forest. The ground underneath it eroded away, and it's kind of broken in two, and trees are growing on the roof. It will soon completely fall apart. What I'll do now is give you a little bit of a tour around the outside of the building and inside the building. You can see we pretty fully utilize the place. Here's some of our equipment for the censuses. We put our nets out and dry them in the sun and then spray them with alcohol between each use so that we don't spread disease from site to site. This is our laundry facility, and then a nice tropical tradition is to build the kitchen in a separate building on the outside so you don't have the heat of cooking inside the building. Now I'm going to walk into the hallway. First, we're walking through an addition to the building. I'm not sure exactly when it was put on, but what you're looking at right here was not present when Beebe purchased the building in the late 1940s. This is our guppy lab, and what you have here is a large number of small aquaria that contain the guppies from each little nook and cranny of the stream. The idea that I told you when we were actually doing the collection is that we keep track of where the guppies come from. We run a meter tape down the middle of the stream, and then for each pool or riffle in the stream, we designate where it is on a label in a separate container that says what the reading is on the meter tape, and those fish are kept separately. When we put them in the bottles, they're kept separately here in the lab. We also separate out mature males from females so they don't mate while we're handling them. Then we process them and again put them in labeled bottles and return them exactly to the site of capture. So pulling that off logistically means having a very large number of small containers for doing our work. Across the hall we have another fish lab which isn't currently in use, but here we have larger aquaria where we keep large groups of fish, particularly fish that are being reared for introduction or fish that are being kept for export to the United States, where we'll be using them for laboratory experiments. Then across the hall, here's a storage room. We have a huge amount of equipment to store so that we have these collections of labeled action packers which tell us whose property it is and what's stored in there. But the idea is that these are mobile labs. There isn't enough space here to accommodate all of us, and so we have to take the labs down and store them and then put them together again, put our equipment together again when a different team arrives. I'm looking for the light switch. Here is the lab where the ecosystems team does a lot of their processing of samples. Here I am walking down the hallway, and these are mostly bedrooms on this side. And then here we are in the lab where we do the processing of the guppies for mark recapture. Hello everyone, how are you doing? I want to say hello to your audience of 1 billion people. And here is the veranda, and this is pictured in archived photographs that appeared in National Geographic at the time when the station was at the height of the William Beebe era in the 1950s and 1960s. And again, we have other lab facilities set up here. And then this is our view out the back window. And in Beebe's day, the forest was kept cut. In fact, the entire top of the hillside was kept with only very low vegetation, so they had a nice view of the surrounding valleys. And now the vegetation has grown in, but you can see in the distance the view that we have of the Northern Range Mountains.